Do you feel like you're drowning in a sea of to-do lists? Of course you do. We all do. You're not alone. From daily chores to life-changing goals, the pressure can absolutely be overwhelming, right? It leaves you stuck or stressed or maybe even completely shut down. In this episode, you're going to learn 3 powerful, practical strategies to cut through all the nonsense, all the overwhelm, and finally get stuff done. We're going to explore how to find safety to calm your system, how to soften your defensive state when pressure mounts and continues to mount. And you're also going to learn how to bypass overwhelm entirely with steps so small that they are almost effortless. Get ready to discover one simple thing you can do today to move forward. Hey, I'm Justin Sinceri. I'm a therapist and coach who wants to help you live more calmly, confidently, and connected without psychobabble or woo-woo. Welcome to Stuck, Not Broken. This podcast is, of course, not therapy and not intended to replace therapy. This episode actually is a replay of a free webinar I gave to members of all tiers of the Unstucking Academy. So if you'd like to be a free member, you can join today and get access to upcoming webinars as well. Enjoy the episode. The goal here is I want you to look for, as I go through the lesson, I want you to look for those moments of like, that's it. I can do that. That is the thing. We're going to be talking about a lot. I don't need you to memorize all of it. I want you to identify one thing in here that really sparks you and then like just hone in on it. Okay. I want you to maximize that one thing. So I want you to identify one thing that you want to make progress on as far as a life goal, maybe. Identify one step you can take to make progress. That's the goal here. You have things to do. If you weren't aware, you have things to do, right? You have small daily things, the basic things like showering, brushing your teeth, healthy enough eating. You got bigger daily things. You got childcare, work, relationship, maybe. You have things you have to get done, like taxes. Oh, that reminds me, dang it. Taxes. The city wants taxes from me now. Business, house maintenance, and so does the government, federal government. You also have things you would love to get done. If you just had the space for it, you would love to get these done, like a new hobby, maybe starting your own business, maybe joining a club, maybe going to the gym or back to the gym. Right? There's things you want to do, things you have to do. And you're probably overwhelmed because you're normal, you're human. It happens. We got a ton of stuff on our plate. Yeah, there's too much to do. There's not enough time. Things pile up. And you potentially are being unkind to yourself, sadly. All this means is you have probably some defensive activation, such as freeze, which might show up as overwhelm or feeling like stuck or paralyzed, panicky, maybe even rage. Could be shutdown where it's showing up as collapsed, just limp, no energy. I don't even have the energy to do the basic things, Justin. Stop talking about the bigger things and taxes. Flight, where you avoid it altogether. Fight, it's somebody else's fault. They're going to deal with it. Good luck to them. All right, so that's where we're at. We're all there, right? I want to talk about 3 big options to get stuff done. These are the 3 options. Number 1, feel safety to reduce your overwhelm or whatever you're going through. I'll call it overwhelm or defensive activation. It works the same way. So feel safety. Okay. Feel defense mindfully until the overwhelm softens and bypass the overwhelm with small behavior changes. So those are our 3 big options. We're going to go more in depth into each of them. But already kind of notice within yourself, which of these is lighting you up? Which of these do you feel like you're getting pulled more towards? And if you can identify that, there might be something and there's an avenue for you that you could pursue. Number 1, feel safety and then get stuff done. So prioritize grounding and safety and then make progress on all of the things you have to do. Ventral vagal safety, the safety state, the ventral vagal safety, when those pathways are active, it leads to all the wonderful things that you would love to have all the time. Thinking critically, feeling calm, feeling motivated, having a clear mind, sustaining your focus, having positive, hopeful expectations, etc. All those wonderful, positive things come from, of course, your safety state being active. So if we can get some of that, then defense will likely go down, and that might create less overwhelm and more space to get some stuff done. Well, how do you do that, Justin? That's a great question. And I happen to have an answer for it. Feel safety, then get stuff done. How to do that? Number one, surround yourself with safety cues. Cues are things that trigger your safety state that you don't really have to think about or really do anything special with. So I'm in my therapy office right now. The greens, you can't see the stuff behind the camera, but the greens in this space cue safety for me and my clients, I think typically. They don't have to think about it. They're just there, and it provides a constant stream of safety cues. So you want to surround yourself with passive safety cues. One way to do this is in your own home, and that's creating a passive safety environment. We talk about that in building safety anchors, and that course, there's a lot of pieces to that. But the basic idea that you can totally run with today is there one spot in your home? It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a mansion. It could be an apartment. Doesn't matter. Is there one corner, one room? Doesn't matter. One spot in your home where there's more safety than the rest of your home. Pick that spot, and then we want to amplify it by adding in or taking away, cleaning up, tidying, organizing, just creating a space in your home where safety is built up, where we're getting more passive cues than danger cues. Okay. That'll be in your own home. And just one thing goes a long way. If you don't have that, can you find one? This would be things in your neighborhood, maybe. It could be a park, could be a neighborhood lake, could be a quiet corner of your local library, or maybe it's just going out in your backyard and, being there with your pet. Or maybe it's standing on your balcony and looking up at the sky or out at the horizon if you have an apartment. That's not something you create. It's more like something you find. Well, I guess the backyard, you can create that. But these are places that you find and that you can go to increase safety and decrease overwhelm and potentially get some more stuff done. So that's passive, but we want to be more active about this as well. So the next step would be to take one of the passive cues in the environment and mindfully connect with it. That means you bring all your attention to that passive cue. So how do you mindfully connect with something? This is the easiest way I can break it down. Basically, you want your grab. I have a candle in my therapy office here, citron mandarin. You take your cue. If it's lit, I can smell it, but it also just kind of creates a smell in the environment, right? That's passive. But if I breathe it in, now I'm mindfully connecting with it. And I could take it to the next level by asking myself, do I like it or not? That's just one level. And then I could take it to the next level and ask, well, when I breathe in, what happens to my breathing? Like on the next breath, maybe. Is it calmer? Is it lighter? Is it tenser? I could also notice when I breathe it in and I smell it, what happens to my muscles? Do they relax or do they tense up? And I could also, this is probably more difficult, but I could breathe it in and notice what happens in my internal sensations. Do I feel more energized? Do I feel more, excited more? Is there like a fluttery experience? Is there a pulling down? Is there a heaviness? So that's how you mindfully turn what would otherwise be passive into more like a mindful experience. If you can do that, that is more safety anchoring than the passive cues. So if you can do that, overwhelm may come down along with it and you can get more stuff done. It's easier than you think. Okay. Safety cues are everywhere. It is very possible that you are someone that like you really, really, really struggle with this. That's totally possible. If that's you, I would stick with, do I like it or not? And if I like it, let's do more of that as long as it's not harmful. But it's easier than you think. There's safety cues everywhere. There's probably stuff you already have at home, like a candle, a blanket, a tea, going outside, maybe elements of nature in your home, like pictures or sounds of waves on your phone. You can put music on. These are easily passive cues, but you can turn these passive cues into mindful safety anchors. If you can connect intentionally, just like I did with the candle, use those questions to connect with it intentionally. Overwhelm comes down with it. Okay. See an example here is Jenny. Jenny needs to study for a test in 3 days. The test is coming up in 3 days. She's put it off, prioritizing things to distract herself, like her phone and spending time with her friends. Her dorm's a mess, and her roommates have people in and out all the time. The pressure to study is mounting to the point of overwhelm. So she decides to study after anchoring into safety. How does she do this? Number one, she goes to a pond located in her university campus. Her dorm's not going to work out. It's not a great place for her. So she goes to a pond that's, a short walk away. She sits on a bench under a tree, feeling a little bit calm. She closes her eyes and mindfully listens to the ducks, feels the air on her skin, listens to her thumb flipping through her book's pages. She notices what she likes. While doing these things, she notices if she likes it or not. She notices what happens in her breathing. She notices what happens to her muscle tension. And she also notices what's happening internally. So Jenny focuses on anchoring in safety first. She turns passive cues into mindful anchors. And if she can do that, she's a heck of a lot more likely to study and get something out of it. Okay, so that's number one, and how it can look. Number two, and by the way, this is pretty fast paced because I wanted to get it under an hour and have a little bit of time for Q&A. So I think we'll be able to do that. Number two, soften defense, then get stuff done. I'm going to break this down into 3 different options as well. Number one is be proactive. Don't wait. Don't wait for the defense. Don't wait until you're in a moment of overwhelm to do something about it. That's typically what we do. I would really push you to do something about it now. Now, what you can do about it now is before the overwhelm comes, anchor into safety, and then compassionately connect with your defensive activation that's probably already there. Overwhelm, it kind of mounts and mounts and mounts, but it's there on some level already. So don't wait for it to spike. Wait for it, or like just notice what it feels like currently. Anchor into safety, just like Jenny did, and then bring your attention over to that level of stress or overwhelm and validate it. That just means acknowledge it, normalize it, and then give it permission to be with you. But we don't want to go into it. We're not really feeling into it. That's higher level stuff. The other option is when you anchor into safety, imagine defense ahead of time. So anchor into safety, imagine it ahead of time, and then mindfully give it permission to be there. So that is actually to let you feel a little bit into it. And then once you feel a little bit into it, just acknowledge it and then come back over to your safety state. So you're shifting your attention from this anchored, mindful place over to, I do have some stress here. This is what it feels like. This is where it lives in my body. And then come back over to safety, bring your mindful attention back over to safety. If you do that a couple times, that's called pendulation. But even doing it once, safety to the mindfulness of defensive activation, and then back to safety. That little, just one pendulation can actually go a long way. But that's before it's too much. Well, what if there already is defense? And this is usually where people go to. At that point, we do the best we can to cope. But what I like to tell people if it's too much, what I like to recommend is mindfully permit it. And this is your process. Number one, validate it, acknowledge it. Number two, normalize it. Does it make sense why it's there? For Jenny, yeah, it makes sense why it's there. I haven't studied at all and my time's running out. And then give it permission to be there. But when you give it permission to be there, specifically, I want you to do a couple of things after that. The first step is to give the experience an image using your imagination, and then invite it to be there with you while you also make progress on whatever it is you have to do. Okay, I'll give you an example of what this looks like. But we're not feeling into it because that's probably too much. If you're in the overwhelm, like if it's spiking, if it's like an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, that's probably too much to really feel into it compassionately. So at that point, we just want to bring it down enough to maybe permit it at a deeper level, but really it's just we got to get some stuff done. So let's just bring it down enough by permitting it using imagination and invitation. I'll come back to that idea. But there's a third option here, which is more like restorative, charging your batteries kind of thing. After the overwhelm, after you come crashing from overwhelm, actually allow yourself to collapse. Actually allow yourself to recover from what you went through. So if you're at work and things are terrible and it's just stress and people and issues, and you come home and you're still wound up, like actually let yourself collapse. Actually let yourself decompress. Give yourself silence. With my client work, a recommendation I love to give is like when you come home from work or school or wherever, like just fall face first on your bed, give yourself 10 minutes of silence and just breathe and maybe connect with your pet or something. But like that is restorative because even that little time is way more impactful than like coming home and watching TV. That's not, that's not rejuvenating. Okay. So we have before, during, and after. I highly recommend before, focusing more on that, and then after, get rid of that one. Before and afters. During is probably where you're going to get the least amount of benefit, and you really have to work your way up to that. Let's come back to Jenny. So Jenny has already anchored into safety. She did that in the last example. This is how she softens defense. She validates that she feels stressed. She just acknowledges that I feel stressed, she says to herself. She normalizes why she feels that way. She says, yeah, I put it off too long, and this is important. And my dang roommates, of course I feel stressed out. And then she permits it through visualizing her stress as a heavy rock. She gives it an image. Her brain comes up with an image. It's a heavy rock weighing me down. I'm gonna put it here on the bench next to me, and it can hang out with me. Look, heavy rock, you are invited to be here with me while I also study, while I also open my textbook and start reading. So it's not rejecting it. It's giving it permission to be there, but it's just kind of using an image to help contain it. It doesn't solve the problem. It helps soften it so that we can get some stuff done. That's the idea here. All right. So that's in the moment when she's trying to study, but she continues the process. She builds on the success. So she goes home and she uses her room as a passive safety environment. She has stuff in there that's going to cue safety for her. So at home in that environment, she anchors again. She uses maybe a candle or I don't know, whatever. She mindfully connects it with it and lets it be there, or she mindfully connects with her safety state, excuse me. Then she imagines the stress of the test is coming up. It's 2 days away now. And she imagines sitting at the desk in class and feeling stressed out. She just lets her have it because it's coming anyways. She mindfully permits and feels the stress through her imagination. And then when she feels that, doesn't go too far into it, but lets it be there and then shifts her focus back to safety. If she could totally do that a couple times, it pendulate between the two. What that does is it builds up. It's just like putting in practice or reps for anything else. It tells the body this level of stress, we have felt this before. We know this because we've practiced it mentally days ahead of time. So we know this, and the body will naturally, without even having to think about it, if you practice it this way, the body will recognize that stress level and pendulate right away. In my client work, as we practice pendulation at a much heavier level in one-on-one work, a lot of times they'll use a dog or a pet as a co-regulator, as a connection point. And so as they feel defense, one thing I'll prompt them to do is I'll ask them, hey, how's your pet doing? And they'll smile and connect with it. And that process builds up their safety state. So a session or two down the road, what they'll do without being prompted is, as they feel defensive activation, their hand right away goes to the pet, and they can sit with both of those things without even being prompted to. Their body knows how to anchor in safety while having defensive activation. So that's what the imagination can do. It's a very powerful way, but simple. All right, so that's two paths. We got safety, we got defense. Option 3 is to bypass overwhelm. You might be like, oh, that's the one. That's the one I want. I want to introduce you to a concept called Kaizen. I love this. I build this into my life, into the Unstucking Academy. It's not explicitly there, but it's built into everything that we do there. It means good change. Kai means good, Zen means change. It was popularized as a Japanese business philosophy of continuous improvement. It actually came from America during World War II, and it was exported over to Japan, and they took off of it, and then we kind of lost it. But it's small steps to produce sustainable habit toward a larger goal. So that's the idea. Kaizen. The things you want to accomplish, they triggered events. They're the tasks we have in life, even brushing your teeth for some people. Sure. The goals you want, joining a gym, like these trigger defense, the thoughts, they trigger your defensive activation. Change is scary. Period, right? But even if something you want, you might want to change something about what you're doing. And that is scary, even though you want it. And even though there might be a daily task that is easy or should be easy in your mind, like showering every day, that might be too much because it's a new habit. It's a change. I just want to put that up like as a blanket statement. These things can be challenging, especially if you live in more of a defensive state, if you're stuck in a defensive state. So we use Kaizen principles to find small behaviors that don't trigger fear, that don't trigger panic, don't trigger overwhelm. If you're overwhelmed, you could use Kaizen to help still get some stuff done. I'd rather you do things more proactively rather than waiting for a problem and then using Kaizen or anything else. I'd rather you do things proactively when your emotional state is more manageable. So these small Kaizen steps, they should be so small that it does not trigger defensive activation. They should be so small it does not pose a challenge. You should be 99% confident you can accomplish it. And it might even seem silly in my client work when I talk about this stuff and we come up with Kaizen goals, they kind of like laugh because it's like, yeah, I could do that. That's silly. Of course I could do that. And that's what we want because at that point, there's no friction. At that point, it's just momentum. And then great, like it seems silly, cool. No, let's go execute on it. And if you could do that, let's do it again the next day. No step is too small. And I'll show you some examples of this. No step is too small. 30 seconds is better than none. If you're trying to, I don't know, walk more or exercise more, 30 seconds is better than none. If you try to be mindful, 30 seconds is better than no seconds. 5 reps of something is better than no reps. Planning is a step toward doing. That's better, right? 1 minute of planning is better than 0. Imagining your goal is better than avoiding it. I'd rather you make a vision board than do nothing at all. And I'd rather you write down some notes in a notebook than not do a vision board. Walking around your block, that's better than not going to the gym, right? Walking halfway around the block is better than nothing. And putting your shoes on and walking to the front door, that's better than nothing too. So small steps. So this is how you make things smaller. You ask yourself these questions. What is the smallest step I can take today to move closer to my goal? How can I make this goal feel effortless and even enjoyable? What is one simple way I can fit this goal into my existing routine? And what small action needs to happen before I can move forward? You don't have to answer all of these. It might be helpful if you do. But if you can pick one and match it up with a bigger goal you want to achieve and identify a step, like that would be better than none, right? That'd be great. So I'll show you a few examples here, and then we'll go through one together, and then we'll apply it to yourself. So recently within the Unstucking Academy, we had a challenge, a community challenge, where every day we were going to practice mindfulness. Now, if I told someone you're going to do mindfulness 20 days in a row, good luck. That would probably be overwhelming, right? So instead, I created a challenge day by day thing, and I told them exactly what you're going to do for 20 days, excuse me. Okay, so this challenge had to be, I implemented Kaizen principles into it. The goal was to build safety state a little bit, or at least become more familiar with mindfulness and your inner world. That was the big goal, but we had to make things smaller. So what is the smallest step I could take today to move closer to my goal? Around 30 seconds per day of mindfulness. And then each day would get slightly more challenging. Okay. That was the first thing. That is a super small step, right? 30 seconds a day of mindfulness. That's very doable. And then slightly increasing the challenge per day. So on day 1, it was like, use your sense of smell to identify if you like or dislike something. The day after that, it was use your sense of smell to identify how something affects your breathing. The next day was how it affects your muscle tension. The next day was how it affects your will. Are you more or less likely to smile? I think it was. And then the 5th day was the sensations in your body. So it got a little bit more complex each day. And then we started over with the next sense. So we did 4 rounds of 4 senses, 5 days of 4 senses. So how can I make this effortless and even enjoyable? We did it with a community. That was, to me, I mean, I participated in it. I loved it. It was a really good experience. And they were small moments. What's one simple way this can fit to existing routine? Around 30 seconds. I mean, if you can find 30 seconds in your day, yeah, like you can do that. There was days where I forgot it and I was prompted by like a community notification. And so it was like, oops, 30 seconds. Oh, I could do this. I'm not behind. I could easily do this. I'm sitting on my couch. I saw the prompt come up because someone else had done it that day. And so I stopped what I was doing. I touched my couch for 30 seconds, mindfully using my hand. That was it. Real simple. Didn't have to do anything special. Check for that day. What small action needs to happen before I can move forward? On day 0, I told people, if you want to do it, type in the comments I'm in. That was a small action that got the ball rolling. And then you click the button to start the challenge. That was pretty much it to start moving forward. So let's see what Tatiana, how she does this. She wants to start an origami hobby, but she's been putting it off forever. Every time she tries to start, she thinks about the struggles of leaving the house to go to the art store, dealing with people, spending money. So even though it's a small goal, it's just like, yeah, buy paper. But for someone who may be stuck in a defensive state, it's like, no. There's all these steps that come into play that are going to challenge me every step of the way. So the goal is to start an origami hobby. Okay. A smaller goal is to engage in origami 3 times a week. That's not bad, but that still might be too much. The Kaizen goal is fold a piece of paper every day as a start. So what's the smallest steps you can take? Find one sheet of paper, any paper, and fold it. It could be it could be a Post-it note. It doesn't matter. The point is to make a small step and start building the practice to start moving forward without overwhelm. How can she make this effortless? Keep it in her pocket. You can fold a piece of paper no matter where you're at. What's one simple way to fit this into her routine? Fold it while watching TV. Fold it while your hand's in your pocket on the elevator. Fold it while cooking. Maybe she has a cookbook and she could fold the cookbook page, all of that. I wouldn't like that personally. I also don't like cooking. What small action needs to happen before she can move forward? Find the first piece of paper right now. That's it. All right, James. James wants to improve his health, lose weight, and build muscle, but he's been putting it off for years, prioritizing work and family instead. The thought of going to the gym makes him feel overwhelmed, self-conscious, and exhausted before he even starts. He worries about the time commitment, the effort required, and whether he can keep up, maybe the money too. He doesn't want to feel alone and insecure. So what's the goal causing defense? He wants to lose weight and build muscle in the gym. The smaller goal is to build a gym at home, maybe get some dumbbells or a bench or something like that. The Kaizen goal, because that can be overwhelming and very costly. So the Kaizen goal is, well, just go for a walk every day. Let's start there. That could be an option. There's many options. The smallest step he can take today to move closer is to go for a walk, maybe lift a milk jug, maybe pick up his kids. That's better than not, right? How can he make the goal effortless and enjoyable? Walk with his family, maybe make a game out of it. What's one simple way he can fit this into his routine? Walk around the office during phone calls, park further away from the entrance, stand up during non-screen time at work. Those are really easy ways to start being more mobile instead of going to the gym and being overwhelmed. What small action needs to happen before he can move forward? Ask his family to join him. Maybe email HR about a standing desk. Maybe just find something heavy to lift around the house. This is where I want to hear from you. This is Heather's predicament. Heather wants to go back to school, but she's been putting it off. She feels overwhelmed, worried about her work, school, and life balance, and she's unsure about financial and time commitment. So you don't have to answer all of these. Let's do this as a little group here. What is the goal causing Heather's defense? Or what's a possible smaller goal? Or what's a Kaizen goal? I want to hear from you in the chat if you don't mind, please. And then after this, we're gonna apply this to yourself, and I want you to come up with your own goal, just self-reflection. You don't have to share it with everybody. What do you got though? What's the goal causing Heather's defense? Returning to, yeah, pretty simple, right? What's a possible smaller goal? And if you can, what is a Kaizen goal? What's a super small goal that she could not fail on? Doing a short course? Yeah, absolutely, Tasha. Good job. How can we make that even smaller? What is a tiny thing she could do in the direction of getting back to school. Yeah. Tasha says Kaizen goal could be reading a book on the topic or watching a YouTube video, listening to podcasts. Yeah, just kind of get the wheels moving. It could also be maybe the smaller goal is to do, like a smaller class or a course or something like that. The Kaizen goal could be just research it. Today you research it. That's it. Today you spend 2 minutes looking up the program. The next day you spend 2 minutes finding another program. That's it. Okay. Yeah, there you go. C says visiting a website of an educational institution. That's it. So we wouldn't tell Heather, yeah, you should do that today. You should register and do the research and figure everything out today. Good luck. That's easy. You could do that, Heather. That's probably too much. It is too overwhelming. She says she's feel overwhelmed. It's a huge change. Alan says, yeah, Mary Jones, course catalog. Peter chatting to people who are already taking short courses. Awesome. All great ideas. So Heather could totally do one of these today, one tomorrow, one the next day. Or if she wasn't super rushed, you could do one per week. The point is to make it small, so small that it's not overwhelming. So if we challenge Heather to look at one program today, she'd probably say, yeah, I can help. That's easy. I can totally do that. Okay. That's the point here. And all of a sudden the overwhelm is not an issue because it's like, oh yeah, that's laughably easy. So I'll give you a couple minutes just for yourself. You don't have to put it in the chat, but thank you for participating, everybody that did that. What is it you want to achieve? What's one thing that you want to achieve? And if it's just like showering daily and you're struggling with that, that's fine. Whatever. If you want to join a gym or join a local bike club, that's great too. If you want to start a business, that's great. But it doesn't matter to me. What is one thing that you want to achieve or work toward or improve? What is it you want to spend more time doing? So what simple things? Now you don't have to answer all of these. Don't try to answer all of them. Okay. But just kind of like latch on. If one of these speaks to you, just latch onto it and maximize it. So what simple things do you need to do? What is it you're putting off, or what daily things do you neglect? If in your mind, I'm like, I've been putting off, I'm supposed to sketch every day and that's part of this course I'm in. I've been putting it off like that. Maybe that's the one you latch onto. If you're getting antsy and you gotta get out of the house, maybe there's a person or a place that's been calling to you in column number 2 there. Maybe it's time to act on that. I don't expect you to go like set up the cruise right now. That's not the point. You want to make a step in that direction. Or is there a big thing that you want to take on, like a hobby, a project, a business, an adventure? Or is there a movement that just kind of would feel good? Walking, jogging, thinking, working. If one of these speaks to you and you're like, yeah, that's the one I want to do, just latch onto it. Because the next slide is, I want you to answer one of these questions. I don't expect you to have the perfect Kaizen goal right now, but let's take a step in that direction. So if your goal is woodworking or art practice or whatever, what is the smallest step you can take today to move toward that goal? Oh, that's her that was referring to. That's supposed to be for you, toward your goal. So if your goal is woodworking, well, do you have wood? Or do you have the tools? And if not, is it time to get it on Amazon or go to the store? And if that's too much, can you imagine woodworking? Can you just put yourself in that space? Can you organize the environment for woodworking? Can you make one step today to organize the woodworking space? Nice, Lisa. Good job. That's super small, Lisa. Beautiful. Visualize it. That is a step in the right direction. Okay, that doesn't speak to you though. How can you make this goal feel effortless and even enjoyable? I'll be honest, Lisa, when you said daily art practice, I'm like, oh, I want to do that with Lisa. I cannot commit to that, Lisa, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, let's do it with somebody. There's actually someone, I really want to get back to drawing. I love drawing. And there's someone locally who's an amazing artist and a good friend of mine. And we tried setting up a monthly thing, and I knew he was not going to follow through. And he did. We met once and that was it. But it'd be fun to get back into that. Nice, Lisa. Tasha, you're set up. Tasha, are you more likely to spend 1 minute out there versus 0 today, tomorrow? Or would you like to spend 1 minute? Can we go out there into those spaces and just touch the things and say, just feel it, connect with it, and then say, I'll be here tomorrow for 1 minute. What's one simple way you can fit this goal into your existing routine? If you have a special place to draw or do woodworking, can you walk through that space on your way outside to the car? And then what small action needs to happen before you can move forward? You don't have to answer all of these. I just want you to identify one thing that's like, that's the one I can do that. Just whatever lights you up a little bit more, run with it, okay? You already have some really good ideas. I want to save some time for Q&A. Hopefully this, there you go. I can try committing to 1 minute. Kasha, if you can do 30 seconds, I'm ecstatic for you. What you'll find, heck yeah, Lisa. What you'll find is as you start doing these Kaizen steps, it snowballs. Once you do that first thing, you'll be like, that was silly. That was easy. I can totally do that again right now. That's probably what you're going to find. I have with my business that I do, there's things in the back of my mind. It's like, I want to get to that. I want to get to that, and then I don't. But then once I make a small Kaizen goal, and I work with somebody, she and I are like accountability partners. We each set up our goals. And once I come up with a small one, I'm really good at creating things. So I nail it. And I'm like, oh, I could totally do the next thing. And it just unravels. But that first step is where the Kaizen, I think, really is huge. And the small daily practices as well. So this quote hopefully has more meaning to you. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Before we get to the Q&A, I wanted to just interject a little something here. I know that you are feeling stuck. Maybe more than feeling it, maybe you are stuck. You've tried everything, but not broken. You've tried everything and nothing is creating lasting change, even though you have talked about your past endlessly in therapy. Maybe you've assigned your feelings some parts. You've moved your eyes back and forth, maybe held a couple of paddles, maybe said hello to an inner child, rolled around on the floor, gotten special crystals, gone on retreats, joined cohorts, and vigilantly monitored your thinking to root out any and all negative thoughts. But what you haven't tried is actually connecting with your feelings with compassion and patience and curiosity. I know that sounds hard. And it is hard. But when you do that, when you stop trying to get rid of your stuckness and instead connect with it mindfully, it can kind of take care of itself. And I know that sounds weird. It sounds different. And that's because, well, it is different. But this is exactly what we do inside the Unstucking Academy. I teach you how to increase your curiosity and self-compassion through building your safety state. And then when you're ready to, I teach you how to mindfully connect with your stuckness. And then when you're ready to, I teach you how to actually relieve it and to self-regulate. I'm going to make this sound, I'll double down on this. I'm going to make this sound even weirder. I'm not going to give you a mountain of courses that you need to sift through and wish you good luck. Instead, I'm going to give you one pathway. You know how trauma recovery and self-development, they're like a journey, right? Oh, okay, fine. Well, then I have the pathway. You'll get deep learning in small lessons that are under 10 minutes. You'll also get skills practices that increase in challenge as you're ready to. So no, you don't have to sit with it and reflect on past pains and tell your trauma narratives endlessly. And the skills that I teach you they're not there to just kind of make you feel a little bit better for a little bit. These skills are core self-regulation skills that we all should have gotten, but maybe didn't, probably didn't, definitely didn't. The Unstucking Academy is designed to build lasting change through skill mastery. So you don't need the Unstucking Academy. I want you to graduate. You and I have spent a lot of time together here in the podcast, so it might be time to take this to the next level. You can learn more about the Unstucking Academy at stucknotbroken.com/unstuckingacademy, stucknotbroken.com/unstuckingacademy. Okay, now to the Q&A. So any questions you have, I'm happy to address them. It could be about what we talked about today. If there's nothing on that, we have time to address other questions about polyvagal theory or I don't know, whatever else is on your mind that I have something to say about it, I suppose. Logically, I totally get the idea of baby steps, but at least emotionally, I feel like it's not enough. Even though logically, yes, it's better than nothing. I have until X time to get to goal Y, and I can't afford to go slow. Well, if there's time constraints, that's going to make it a lot more difficult. For example, a person with social anxiety thinks, I need to get married by the age of X. Oh, well, but they can't handle big steps, so they spiral and afraid to shut up. Any advice or nuance? So, where you went, Rotem, is probably where everybody else went. I went there too myself when I first heard these things. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense, but so we all go there. There is this internal like pressure, no matter if it's about marriage or starting a business or a new hobby or whatever. There's this internal pressure of like, yeah, I get it, but like, come on, that's not the answer. So I just want to, I guess, validate that and normalize that. That's when I talk about this with my clients, that comes up all the time. So my response is like, right, I agree with you, but you're not doing anything at all. So let's do a baby step. Like, I don't see any other way to argue against that. Not that you're trying to argue, but what's the option? Just to keep saying, yeah, I need more than not do anything. So, that's my first response to that. As far as like, I need to get married by the age of X. Well, that's probably more of a cultural thing, depending on where we're at, right? I mean, I don't know. Saying I have to, maybe. How about say I want to? That's fine. Okay, great. So you want to? Totally fine. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm not saying you wrote him, but just in general. So you want to? Okay. Well, what can we do about that today? Well, it's too overwhelming and dating and blah blah blah. Like, okay, great, but you want to make progress. So today, what's the goal that we can make? Is it too much to expect you to go find the perfect relationship today? Yeah, probably. Someone worth marrying? Yeah, probably it's too much. But I have no idea how people meet people nowadays. Only one. I'm happily married for 16 years. I don't know how y'all do it. It seems terrible. So I don't know what baby step that would be. It might be like, go to something in person. Stop using devices. So it's like, can you attend an event? Can you attend a local meetup? Can you attend some sort of local biking club or just something that you're into where you're more likely to be around people that have similar interests as you? I don't think the principle gets lost, even if the goal is huge and we feel really pressured. I don't think the principle is lost. It's still true. We'd rather take a step forward today versus not. Thanks for the question. Hopefully I addressed it. Anybody else? We got a little time here. I had a client who wanted to get outside more often. A lot of anxiety. She wants to go for a walk every day. Wasn't happening. And we can make the goal, okay, go for a walk every day. For her, it was too much though. And so we said, okay, well, can you put your shoes on and walk to the front door? And she's like, yeah. That ended up being too much for her too. But at this point, she's actually now practicing mindfulness regularly in small increments in her normal daily routine and doing a lot better. And now she's able to welcome and permit waves of anxiety that come in and out, and she's able to sit with it a lot better. She's being a lot more proactive. June and July are my busiest with work. I get quite overwhelmed and often get sick. Jeez Louise. Tasha, my first thought goes to the, if you mean Kaizen, my thought went to option 2, which is reducing defense. So overwhelm, work, to me, that is like, work is work. We got to get through it. It is what it is. And so at work, is it possible to do small breaks? Is it possible to, when you're on lunch break, I don't know where you worked, Tasha, I don't even know. But like during moments between work, can we mindfully decompress without being on our phone, without taking on another email, but can we truly just decompress and breathe? After work, can we truly decompress and just flop and be in silence for 5 minutes, 10 minutes? So when it comes to work, we may get more benefit from consistently reducing overwhelm versus trying to find a Kaizen goal. When it comes to the actual work, and I don't know your profession, but that's where like the things that we do at work, how can I streamline this more? How can I make it more efficient? What's one small improvement that I can make to make my life a little bit easier when it comes to work? For me, Tasha, I put together this system to make sure I'm getting stuff done without overwhelm. And it's just like a 3-box system. And in the first box is all the stuff that I don't like doing, but have to do, like writing progress notes and plan, any paperwork kind of stuff, or screen stuff. Any non-therapy, non-creative things, all that goes in box 1. I have to get this done. I don't have a choice, and I cannot move into box 2 until I get box 1 done. And then box 2 is stuff I like to do, like podcasting, blogging, and creating new coursework or refining things in the community. And then box 3 is the stuff that I love doing that I just like doing it. Doesn't have any like business payoff exactly in the short term, but tweaking, design things on my site, playing around with AI, like tweaking my prompts and whatnot, just the stuff that's fun, but like it's not necessary. But that's the system I came up with, which is to my 3-box system. How to tackle a project or goal that is ongoing source of overwhelm. Kaizen, good, but then overwhelm and collapse in between each small step. Yeah, that's kind of how I would lay it out. Mary Jo, what's the smallest change you can make to streamline your life a little bit more? How can we, and even things like if you're working at a certain location, like this is my therapy office and I have my home office. It's really important to me that it is decluttered, that I have visual space. You're welcome, Doc. I have visual space, that I have physical space, that I have things organized, not like I have to, like it's a compulsion, but it's just when I walk into a space, I want to feel like, okay, I can focus and I can work. So it's pretty important to me that, and it's not like obsessively clean, but like it's got to be tidy, clean, organized. I need to know if I need something, this is where it is. It's going to be there, and I can get back to work. And so things like that can be a huge overwhelm release. It's a little, what little changes can I make to make my life a little bit more streamlined? And then, in between work, after work, how can I truly decompress? Before work, how can I feel maybe a bit more safety or a bit more mindfulness as a buffer for all of the work stuff? There was another question here. This is a tough one, Amanda. I feel overwhelmed at the grocery store. How can I reduce the defensive activation in this situation? So again, Amanda, I want you to think about this in a couple different ways. Number one is reducing defense before you get there, before the problem. Number 2 is during the problem. And number 3 is after the problem. You're going to get most benefit from number 1 and number 3, I think, before and after. During is you can work your way there. I would say in general, I would encourage people to focus more on number 1 and number 3. So before and after. And as that becomes easier, then work on when you're there, when I feel overwhelmed, what can I do about it? So I would go back to the slides, but to break it down real quick, practice anchoring into safety, turning something benign, like an AirPods case. This is just something I like to fidget with. But when I focus on it, I feel more anchored in my safety state. And then once I'm in that place, imagine myself going to, and I do this. I have a fear of heights, and I've started doing this practice. I imagine myself falling. And it's like terrifying at first, but it's getting easier and easier. So imagine going to the supermarket and being around people and whatever, the lights and the sounds and all the stuff. Anchor into safety, and then imagine what that feels like, and then come back to safety. Okay. That would be in preparation. And then after you get home, decompress, or even in the car, decompress, tell yourself something kind, extend your exhale, truly just decompress. As you use your imagination and imagine it, as it gets less reactive, you'll find that in the store, like it's still there, but it's not like it used to be. It's way more manageable. And that's actually, I found that with my heights fear, that being up high is that I was able to drive over a bridge not too long ago that was like previously very triggering. It wasn't triggering at all because I was intentionally putting in the mental reps ahead of time.